Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining today from the Department of Trade Consumer Protection, it is Michael. He's back. He's ready to rock and roll on scams targeting military consumers. May is Military Appreciation Month, and it kind of feels really sad that we would even have to talk about a military family being taken advantage of, but nobody's excluded from scams, as we all know. But these might come a little bit more unique, hit closer to home because of some tactics, really targeting, a specific group here. So as you look at it as a whole, there's probably a lot of stuff that's going to stand true about any scam out there, for all consumers. But our military families, they got to be on the lookout.
It is. Scammers will pick and choose those particular demographics and audiences to tailor a certain scam towards them, and we talk about those audiences throughout the year, and military members aren't exempt from that. And so they'll take those examples and kind of apply them and tweak them and change them up a little bit so that military consumers and members might be a little bit more inclined to believe them.
Well, it's very disappointing, but let's break down some of them for you so you can prevent them if you come across somebody. So first one, the upfront fee scam. Tell me about this one.
Well, it's them calling military members and saying they can provide a certain service or good, but they just have to pay that fee up front. And so military members might think, okay, this is a great service for me. One might be finding benefits. There's a lot of benefits out there for service members, both active and veterans. And so they'll say, pay me this fee and I'll get you hooked up with all of these different programs. Another is getting a copy of those records. So afterwards, if you want to qualify for benefits or apply for them, you need certain records, service records. And what they'll say is you pay us this fee and we'll put this whole packet together for you and we'll get those records for you, when in reality that veteran can get those for free on a website at archives.gov. And then the other one is loans, loans and where they say, hey, if you pay us a fee, we can get you this special rate or special discount because you're a veteran. And there are programs where you do get those discounts, but you don't need to pay that fee up front to get them. And they also don't know that particularly you might qualify for them. Just because you're a veteran, you may have a credit score that doesn't qualify you for certain ones, but by the time you pay that upfront fee and realize you don't qualify, it's too late.
Would these come in I'm sure it's like sky's the limit here, but do they come in as emails, unwanted phone calls, mailings? Like how are they being distroed out?
All of them. Just like every other scam. We talk about this in our outreach presentations with scams on the different avenues. Sometimes we think, well, maybe it's phone calls are more successful or social medias, and there is no specific medium which they say this is the most effective for me. Calls, emails, social media, and letters. They're
going to use them all, so you got to be prepared. Have your guard ready. Next one is benefit scams, and benefits in itself can be complicated as it is, no matter what, whether in the military or not. So I don't like this one.
Well, you said the key word there, complicated, and that's what the scammers key in on as they say, look at all these complex forms and information you have to provide. We can help with that. So what we'll do is we'll send you the forms. All you need to do is just go ahead and sign them, and then we'll take care of the rest for you. And unbeknownst to you, you don't realize that then they're going to take that and alter the information. Maybe the signature isn't quite clear, and they'll change the names. And so, we like to think, hey, we never signed a blank form, which is good guidance to have, but same thing they do with the military members. And the other is having that, some of those relationships. So when we used to talk about student loans, somebody would call and say, we have a relationship with the Department of Education. VA is no different. And so these scammers will call and say, we have a relationship with the VA, with the Department of Defense, and we can get you, kind of fast-tracked. We can get you on the end. We've done this 100 times. Don't worry, we know what those obstacles are. We'll take care of it for you, when in reality, they don't.
Eesh. Next one is pension poaching scams, which just sounds like, if you're poaching in there, again, this all the time sounds like poaching in general, but again, pension's another thing that you expect and hope it's there, but maybe you don't know a lot about it. So again, it kind of falls under, I would say, complicated, but anything financial always is just, you feel that pressure. So I could see this being an easy one to target because you're like, I don't know anything about my pension.
Right. And there's a couple key elements that happen here is what their pitch is for you. So in this pension poacher, what they're saying is, we can get you set up for the pension, we can get you more money, and then in exchange, we just want a cut of it. And if it's just your straight pension, you don't need that. You can go and apply yourself, or there's so many other organizations, legitimate ones, that can help with you. What we're seeing with these scammers is they're saying, we can get you a higher pension. But in reality, what they're doing is they're just setting it up and they're going to lie. And it's kind of like cheating on your taxes. They'll say, hey, we can get you a bigger refund. Well, they do that by lying on the taxes. Well, they would do the same thing in the qualifying. The problem is when the VA comes around every so often and does that check on it, and they say, hey, wait a second, this isn't true. This was never true. We want our money back. The next thing you know, you got a large bill coming.
And timing's everything on this. So there's no good time for you as a consumer when somebody gets you out of the blue and gets you out of this. But do you see this more around military holidays and stuff, or is it year round and just kind of hits when it hits?
It's a good question. It's year round because people are leaving service year round. And so there isn't a particular time that we're leaving service or that we're applying for benefits. That happens 365. And so scammers know that, and it gives them that opportunity that, well, there's a chance that somebody's on there. Also, a lot of these benefits are lifetime. Once you get out, whether maybe you have a disability or if you have a pension, it's forever. And so they'll key in on that, getting maybe through an identity theft or something happens, they realize you have that service. And then they say, all right, well, let me tell you about a new program, or let me tell you about this change, or let me help you get this or a little bit more. And not true.
And then location too. So like closer to military bases, do you guys ever get like all of a sudden it's Fort McCoy's getting, we're getting a bunch of phone calls or a bunch of directed mail to that address because, they're thinking, well, surrounding area, maybe it's easier to hit,
These particular scams that we're talking about aren't real targeted geographically. Now, there are other types of scams, specifically housing and cars and rental properties. Well, those are geographic because when you're at those locations, you can tell service members need housing around there.
Yeah.
And so those scams are definitely geographic, but these are pretty widespread.
I think it's good to know because I think, again, keeping on your guard, being, whether you think you're closer to military base, you're like, oh, well, I'll be on the guard versus if you're out and about, you retire somewhere else and you're like, oh, man, I was in the military. Oh, man, I have a pension. Oh, man, I don't know any, it just starts to add up and seems like, yeesh. Well, if you want to find out more information on this or any scam information, certainly DATCP's got a great, lot of resources out there for you. I don't know if I've ever looked at military component. You got some military stuff set aside on there, I assume?
We have a little bit at datcp.wi.gov. We'll have this, but we'll also have other alternative resources for you, and we'll get you directed to where you can really get those things that you need. All
right, perfect. Well, thank you. Thank to all the veterans out there for your service, our active military members. Appreciate it, and appreciate your time, Michael, as always.
Thanks, Jeremy.